2006 in Vancouver, British Columbia, 81% of all aluminum cans sold, 71.5% of all plastic bottles, 68.6% of all non-alcohol glass bottles, and 49% of all tin cans were returned as part of recycling and take-back programs. Comparatively, Washington State standard recycling by households and businesses in 2006 held mostly steady at 43%. Why is the success rate for beverage take-back and recycling programs so high in British Columbia? It's because producers of beverages are required to set up a recycling system for their own products and achieve high recycling rates. This approach is called Product Stewardship. In British Columbia, the Product Stewardship approach first targeted products that contain toxic components or are difficult and/or expensive to manage. Products that are currently managed by Product Stewardship programs include motor oil, paint, medications, tires, electronics, solvents, lead-acid batteries, and of course, throwaway beverage containers. This is different from how the United States currently manages its waste. The U.S. operates under two completely separate systems. We have the product system and we have the waste system. The products are controlled by the producers and manufacturers who design the products, extract raw materials for production and manufacturing, and transport the products to retailers where they are sold to customers. The job of the producer and retailer is then over. Once the consumer is finished with the product, the other system is engaged. This is where local governments become financially responsible for collecting and managing the disposal of these private goods, many of which are toxic and disposable by design. These two systems have little in common and do not communicate with each other. Local governments don't have any input into how toxic or durable the products are, and manufacturers don't have to design creative and safe ways to dispose of them at the end of their useful life. In a sense, local government has made it easy to produce products that are toxic and disposable. The product stewardship system in Canada takes a different approach. The producer still designs and makes the product, and the consumer purchases the products, much as they do in the United States. But instead of sending the unwanted product to the trash recycle system to be taken care of by local governments, the producer is responsible for taking back their products for recycling or proper disposal. They are required by law to develop and implement a business plan to manage their products, and the plan must be approved by the provincial government. Most producers comply with the law by contracting with a stewardship organization to implement the plan on their behalf. Stewardship organizations have been the first choice of manufacturers, and the programs have been embraced by consumers. Manufacturers fund the programs in the manner that best suits their industry. The price can be included in the product price. The manufacturers can pay the stewardship organizations directly, such as in pharmaceutical programs, or a visible or invisible eco-fee can be placed on the product, such as paint and electronics. Consumers can take back their product to a variety of collection locations, such as retail or grocery stores where similar items are sold, a privately run recycling depot, or a public facility like a transfer station. This approach results in take-back systems that are inherently market-driven and cost-effective. Product stewardship programs shift the cost of managing these materials from local governments and their taxpayer and ratepayers back to the manufacturers and their customers. The cost of providing the service is built into the price of the product. This means that the person who buys, uses, and benefits from the product also pays their fair share to recycle or properly dispose of that product. It also means that the more efficiently manufacturers can recycle by redesigning their products or containers to be less toxic and recycled more efficiently, the better off their bottom line will be. Success in British Columbia is drawing interest from government entities around the world. The Northwest Product Stewardship Council organized a bus trip for government employees, elected officials, recycling experts, trade organizations, and advocacy groups in Washington and Oregon to visit Vancouver, British Columbia to see how stewardship programs involving recycled paint, beverage containers, and pharmaceuticals are managed.
One of the key advantages to product stewardship and establishing it here in the Northwest is it takes the burden off of local governments, which really have nothing to do with how a product is produced or what's in it. So by having product stewardship systems put in place, you put it back into the realm of commerce. So it's the producers, the retailers, the consumers that are buying those products. One of the challenges for local governments is figuring out how to pay for the services that are needed to handle all of these products, all this product waste. So in some cases, it's expensive for us. In other cases, we just can't do it. So either way, it's much better to move that back into the chain of commerce.
How do product stewardship programs play out on the community level? Well, Monica Kosmak from Metro Vancouver has details on some of the savings to municipalities in the Metro Vancouver Regional District since the industry stewardship programs were implemented.
If we were to provide the same level of service in terms of the number of locations as a government across the region, and collect the same quantity of material, for the used oil program, we would pay over about $4.2 million. That's how much the oil program is spending within our region to actually collect and process that material. For the paint and pesticide program, what I'm doing here is taking about 40% of the operating and administration costs that are province-wide. So, Mark, maybe I think it would be about 2.1 million. These are U.S. dollars, which actually right now is about the same. Shop your hearts out here no longer, unfortunately. We can go down south. So the paint program, same. If we were to provide those depots and collection points at our expense, we'd be paying over $2.1 million annually. For the medications program, roughly about $90,000 if you take 40% of the 250 or so province-wide. And so combined, I'm just doing this for the hazardous waste products, for combined, the annual savings that we feel we realize is at least $6.4 million. And these are just in the actual collection and recycling processing costs and administration. We're not talking about other cost savings like the avoided capital cost of actually having to build a hazardous waste depot. We're not talking about the retained landfill capacity that we're seeing from taking, for example, tires and electronics out of our system. We're not talking about reduced litter abatement costs. We're not talking about reduced sewage treatment plant costs or education. I mean, for example, the beverage container program alone, Oncorp spends over $2 million a year in this province, and a lot of it is focused here in the Lower Mainland on education. We save tens of millions of dollars with these stewardship programs, so we love them and we want more.
After hearing from Canadian officials about how their product stewardship programs work, the Northwest contingent took a tour of 3 product stewardship recycling facilities. The first stop was Product Care's paint processing facility. Product Care is the not-for-profit, industry-sponsored stewardship organization that manages stewardship programs for household hazardous waste. It is not a government organization. It was formed by brand owners who are manufacturers, distributors, and retailers of the products regulated under British Columbia's product regulations. These industries are members of Product Care who fund the paint collection and processing program through eco-fees, which are based on their unit sales into the province. Product Care paint-only collection depots are set up throughout British Columbia where consumers can drop off unused paint and old cans. There are also Paint Plus facilities that collect flammable liquids, domestic pesticides, and old or contaminated gasoline. Today, all paint producers in British Columbia take part in the Product Care program. Paint is returned to 103 depot locations in British Columbia that operate under contract to Product Care. These include some businesses that are also bottle depots contracted to the stewardship organization of the beverage producers. Approximately 30 of the drop-off depots are not businesses, but local government facilities such as landfills, transfer stations, and recycling depots that are contracted by Product Care. And about 40 locations are Paint Plus depots, which handle the other household hazardous waste products besides paint included in the regulations. At the processing facility, the first effort is to determine if a paint is still usable, and if it is made available to consumers free of charge. Along with being the most cost-effective and energy-efficient alternative for handling leftover paint, reuse puts paint where it belongs, on buildings, walls, and fences, and it diverts it away from sewers, dumps, and landfills. Leftover paint is given away on an as-is, as-available basis. The rest of the paints are removed from their cans. The cans are recycled for their metal or plastic value. In 2005, 729 tons of metal and 75 tons of plastic containers were recycled. The unwanted paint has several different potential uses, including reprocessing leftover latex and alkyd paints into paint and coating products. Latex paint, as raw material, incorporated in the manufacture of recycled concrete and in the manufacture of Portland cement. Solvents are extracted from alkyd paints. The recovered solvent is then used in other processes such as asphalt production. And in energy recovery, Due to the high solvent content of alkyd paints are suitable for energy recovery. None of the paint products are disposed of in landfills. Now, it's kind of a messy job. Chances are good you have some paint splatters on your clothes if you work here, but the program is effective, and as Product Care President Mark Kirschner explains, it's paid for by the eco-fees paint manufacturers pay to Product Care. Eco-fees are based on the manufacturer's unit sales, and they are passed on to the consumer. The eco-fee may be shown separately from the product price, or it may be included in the product price. The eco-fee is taxable, as it is considered to be a part of the price of regulated products. No part of the eco-fee itself is remitted to the government.
The fees vary by the container size. We adjust them now and then. We don't adjust them all that often. We've never had to raise them. We've actually managed to reduce them through program efficiencies. That won't last forever. Volumes keep increasing, costs go up, so one day so will the fees. But by and large, each product group should be paying its own way through its fees. As I mentioned before, the money comes to us from the members of the program. The members are often manufacturers, sometimes they're distributors, sometimes they're retailers. We also allow flexibility. Sometimes we've had, for example, Walmart came to us and said, we would rather pay to the program directly the fees on all of the regulated products we're selling in the Product Care program. Even though they could say that can of Sherwin-Williams paint, that's Sherwin-Williams' problem, but they've decided they'd rather administer it. The other flip side of the coin, and I gave this example last week as well, Home Depot is big in BC, but is not a member of the program. All of their suppliers are members, and that works for them. So it can work, it can move up or it can move down the distribution chain. We're not doctrinaire on how it arrives, as long as it arrives, and we get the fee on every product that's sold.
King County has operated a paint and a household hazardous waste collection facility for over 15 years, and one of the most popular materials that we get is paint. And in fact, it's so popular that it takes up a large share of our budget. It's very expensive to manage the paint and to collect it and to recycle it. And that's one of the main reasons we're looking to the manufacturers to take that responsibility for handling the paint. We've worked with retailers over the years to try to take back paint in their stores, and that was unsuccessful. We've looked at other ways to make it more convenient and really have not found very effective ways to do it just within our own budgets and the money that we have. So we really look forward to 2009 because we are expecting the paint manufacturers to start a paint recycling and collection program in Washington State. And if that goes off the ground and is successful, then we can get out of the paint collection business in King County.
The next stop on our product stewardship tour was an Encore Return It facility for beverage containers. Encore is the product stewardship organization for beverage producers, except for beer producers, who run their own unique recycling system. Last year, Encore recycled more than 1 billion containers that were turned into new cans, plastic bottles and pails, fiberglass insulation, wire fencing, road beds, cardboard boxes, and other useful goods. If a beverage container was sold in British Columbia, it can be returned, recycled, or as in the case of beer, sometimes refilled. The Canadian beer industry has built this principle into their marketing plan. Since it's going to come back, why not make it easier to reuse? Consumers know there is a bounty to be gained on each container. 20 cents for containers over 1 liter, 10 cents for alcohol containers, and 5 cents for all other containers up to and including 1 liter, but only if they return it to a store or bottle depot. Some municipalities encourage consumers not to put beverage containers with a deposit value in their curbside recycling bin, especially glass containers, which can break and contaminate other recyclable materials. They want consumers to use the stores and bottle depots where glass is managed separately from other recyclables. British Columbia residents have been very supportive of the program, which is an expansion of a deposit system for beer and pop containers that has been in place since 1970. Bottle drives have been a long tradition in British Columbia, earning money for schools, sports teams, and other community activities, while at the same time reducing the amount of solid waste in landfills. Encore's Return It program uses no tax dollars, nor is it funded by the government. Part of the cost of the Return It program is included in the cost of the beverage. Part comes from unredeemed deposits, and the rest from money earned when the recyclable materials are sold. Another approach to beverage container and packaging stewardship is the Changes Recycling Centers, owned and operated by a British Columbia grocery chain that decided to make enhanced recycling a service to customers. Overweighty Save-On Foods has several stores across the province with recycling centers located right at the store entrance. Changes works on the premise that if consumers have a convenient, well-maintained recycling location next to a retail establishment, they will return the recyclables as part of their shopping experience, and convenient recycling is good for business. Customers who recycle here can receive Save-On bonus points good for discounts on specific products at the grocery store, or they can receive a cash refund, or they can donate their refund or points to charity. Changes centers are very clean, odor-free, and have a fun atmosphere enhanced by the very cool way recyclables are sorted at the front counter and then disappear from the storefront area. It's one of those things you have to experience in person. Lots of Save-On Foods customers make it a regular stop on their shopping trip, and the kids love it.
Changes was really exciting to see. You've got a business that has made product and packaging take back a priority. They've made it fun. They've made it profitable. They're excited about it. The people who are using it are excited about it. It's really a winner.
I definitely think something like the Changes facility could work in King County. I think one of the things that impressed me visiting the Changes facility is that you had a retailer, a grocery store, that saw it as a negative, that they were going to suddenly be responsible for taking back cans and bottles and other things from their customers and people that weren't their customers. And what they did is they turned that negative around to a positive, where they saw it as a way to bring customers to their store, build some loyalty with their customers, and in fact they gave us information that said they had higher sales at the stores where they had the Changes facilities.
Changes uses incentives. So part of it is part of the British Columbia container recycling law, where there's a deposit that people are getting back, but the other was that there were certain brand owners that were providing a credit for their packaging coming back. That's what I found really exciting, was it wasn't something that had actually been legally required. It was brand owners taking responsibility, I think, is the banner up there. So you bring back certain brands of packaging and you get a credit to go and spend in the grocery store next door.
One of the things about the location that struck me is you're at a grocery store. People are going to go there anyway. I think it's a great model to look at. Instead of creating separate depots, sometimes it can be nice to already have a collection facility at a grocery store or another retail location where people are already going anywhere. They're going to shop. They can always bring back their products that they bought there. So it's a great opportunity to reach them.
On the tour, it was really interesting to see the enthusiasm by some of the representatives of the retail community and also some of the elected officials. And it is those two groups, I think, working together, where retailers see the possibility of doing something like this, and the legislators understand what the backdrop would have to be to bring it about, is very interesting. And that's really what's needed in this area to provide similar programs like this. But key to that is you've got to have the manufacturers involved. It can't just be resting on retailers or on local governments. It's got to have manufacturer responsibility as a component.
A third successful product stewardship take-back program is the Medication Return Program, operated by the Post-Consumer Pharmaceutical Stewardship Association, or PCPSA. Safe disposal of unused or expired medicines has become a hot issue. This cartoon sums up some of the hazards to our water supply and living creatures. Since 1996, the Medications Return Program has helped protect consumers from the inadvertent use of expired or unwanted drugs and keeps them out of the hands of children or people who might use them inappropriately. It also keeps drugs out of the garbage or from being flushed down the toilet, where they can enter the wastewater treatment facilities on their way to our groundwater and surface water. Consumers can return unused medications to any of 850 retail pharmacies, comprising 87% of the licensed pharmacies in British Columbia, that voluntarily participate in the producer-provided program. The pharmacies store the medications in a secure container until they can be taken away and incinerated. The program is paid for by prescription and non-prescription health product producers, who pay fees to PCPSA based on the number of prescriptions or overall sales in British Columbia. There are no fees charged to consumers, either at the point of sale or the point of return. Legislation modeled after the British Columbia program was recently introduced in Washington State to establish a program that could result in the collection and safe disposal of an estimated 66,000 pounds of expired and unwanted medicine each year. And a first-in-the-nation medication take-back pilot program is now running at all 25 group health cooperative pharmacies in 6 counties across the state.
The BC Medicine Return Program has been a real inspiration. Here in Washington State, there is a pilot project that is taking back unwanted medicines, and it's been modeled after that BC program in that it's the pharmacies that act as collection points for the medicines. And of course, that's a very convenient thing for residents. The program has been very successful with very little advertising, and with only about 25 sites operating, it's collecting about 1,000 pounds of medicine each month. However, it is a pilot program, and that means that it will end by the end of the year. In order to have a long-term sustainable program, we think that we need long-term sustainable funding. So we're looking to BC again as an example and are wanting the manufacturers to step up to both pay for and implement the program. There was a bill introduced in Washington State this year that would do exactly that. Although it didn't pass this year, we think that there was a great setting of the stage in order to have it pass next year. And it will, if passed, provide a system where the manufacturers are taking back and paying for the medicines and providing free and convenient collection throughout all of Washington State.
British Columbia product manufacturers and consumers are proving that product stewardship is possible through a combination of incentives and cooperation. For all stewardship programs in British Columbia, the provincial government's role is to set the bar, establishing the outcomes the producers must achieve. Governments also monitor the program's performance and enforce those outcomes. The manufacturer's role in a product stewardship approach is to design and implement the program and report to the government their results. Consumers have a role too, of course. They are responsible for using the system correctly and helping to pay for it as part of the price of the product. And as Monica Kosmak found in Metro Vancouver, the result is a significant reduction in the amount of recyclable and hazardous materials ending up in landfills. In 1998, the amount of waste oil going to disposal was about 2 pounds per person. By 2004, it was less than a tenth of that. In the same time period, the disposal of paint, solvents, and pesticides decreased by 50% from about 10 pounds per person to 5 pounds per person. Most of that weight is empty containers. Now, both Oregon and Washington have product stewardship programs in the works. For Washington, the first program deals with electronic waste. The director of the Washington State Department of Ecology, Jay Manning, has high hopes for the changes it may spark among manufacturers and consumers.
So we viewed electronics as a problem waste, and now through the foresight of the governor and the legislature, we have the first electronics recycling program in the country, and it's a product stewardship based system. It's a paradigm, I think, that has one of its great benefits is it will prompt manufacturers to look at the design of a product, and they will look at the toxics that go into a product and think, is there a way I can design that toxic material out of this product? And because a product is a lot easier to manage and recycle if it doesn't have any toxic material in it. If it has toxics in it, it gets much more complicated, expensive, and even risky for the people engaged in the recycling activity. And to me, that is one of the great values of product stewardship, is it will, over time, affect design decisions and have the cumulative effect of reducing the amount of toxics that are going into products, and that will be beneficial for consumers and for those manufacturers.
So the question is, if it can work in British Columbia, what steps do we have to take to make it work here?
Other things that we expect product stewardship to be the approach that we'll be taking is with unwanted medicines. It's a problem for a lot of people to get rid of them. Fluorescent light tubes and bulbs. Paint, as we've already talked about, is another one that we're looking to, as well as carpeting. So those are some of the materials that we're really looking for a product stewardship approach in the near future.
We will establish product stewardship-based recycling programs for additional waste streams down the road. I can't tell you what will be next, but I believe strongly that this is only the beginning of these product stewardship-based recycling programs.
So product stewardship systems and producer responsibility is coming. It's actually already here in a number of cases. And the public wants it, legislators are interested in it, and the business community is really paying attention. Some of the business community is engaged now at seeing all the opportunities involved with that. Others are still uncomfortable with the idea. But we're going to see this change because almost all of them are working on sustainability plans. Many businesses are addressing climate impacts of their operations, and they will be looking at the climate impacts of their products. So this is coming. It may take a while for the business community to completely get on board, but I'm definitely seeing elements of the business community say, yeah, this is the right thing. Many of them, the multinationals, are doing it in other parts of the world. So it's not really a new subject. It's more new here in the United States. But we're going to see a quick catch-up.
So what can you do? Join the Northwest Product Stewardship Council Associates Program. Associates are government agencies, associations, businesses, and nonprofit groups that support the Northwest Product Stewardship Council mission and product stewardship principles. Associates get access to the Associates listserv, which is a great place to share information about local product stewardship activities, and can participate in Northwest Product Stewardship Council programs and policy development activities, as well as work with experts in the field. To join the Associates program, go to the Northwest Product Stewardship Council website at www.productstewardship.net.